Yikes! It's 9:01. It's Wednesday night, and I think I am late for my live video for the first time ever. Waiting for my friends to join as I take a deep breath like I have learned to do in my yoga classes. And I am enjoying being home and I'm welcoming people. Hi, James. I'm so glad that you're here. Oh my goodness. I hope it is Wednesday night. Hi, Tina. It is Wednesday, isn't it? I have been so off. Hi, Robin and Priscilla. Good. Friends are joining in, and it is Food Addiction Fair and Firm. And I am Dr. Connie Stapleton. I always forget to say that because I just figure we've been here together before, right? I welcome you back. If this is your first time, I welcome you in. And I want you to know what we're going to be doing tonight. For the last many weeks, because I've been gone a few weeks and have had guest hosts. That's kind of hard to say, right? And they've filled in for me and done an amazing job. So that's been good. But for 4 weeks, in the last 4 weeks that I've been here, what I've been doing is helping people to develop a protection plan. I don't care if you're dealing with a struggle with food or alcohol or gambling or shopping or whatever it is, we need to protect ourselves, right? We need to have a way to deal with difficult situations because in the past, if we've walked into difficult situations and we haven't had a plan on how to handle them, it's probably not a good situation. Can you imagine if, the troops in the wars walked into battle without a plan? Not a good thing. But if you think about it, you have been battling with food, if you're a food addict, or whatever your substance may be, for however long. So it is a battle. And each one of us has particular individual battles that make it more difficult at specific times. So we have been developing a protection plan. I'm going to review the 4 parts of the protection plan, and then we're going to try to put it together tonight so that I can give you some examples of how to actually use this in your real life, day-to-day life, real situations that you're probably encountering. Sometimes, hi Jody, hi everybody actually, I've missed you all. I feel like I've been gone forever. I have been gone for a long time. And then I pop in my house and I get on this live and I have the same background, so it looks like I'm always here, but I've been gone for about a month and I'm ready to be home. In fact, I got home to this house from the Atlanta airport at 8:30 tonight. So my mind's just a little bit foggy, so I'm going to need your help tonight, okay? We're going to be putting that protection plan together, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by reviewing that thing. What I would hope you will all do as I go through this is comment. Comment in the section, for the comments, and give me some ideas because I'm going to need your help about situations. So if you think of some situations that are difficult for you when it comes to, fighting the food addiction or emotional eating or places that are triggers or people that are triggers, or you struggle with setting boundaries, give me those examples so that when I come to the part about putting them all together, I can use your real life examples. I was going to try to come up with some ideas on my own, but I got home too late, and there we have it. Okay, so what I really want to do is just pour my little heart out here tonight. I'm just telling you, because of my own humanity, I am a little bit shaken up tonight. I was at my sister's, and her husband died a couple of weeks ago, and so we had the memorial service this past weekend, and I've been with her for a week, and it's just a little emotional, right? Especially because, I'm all about recovery from addiction. My brother-in-law died directly from addiction. And so that's weighing on me heavily. And, it hurts my heart because he clearly did not have a protection plan. And even though if your addiction is food, you may not go out and literally eat yourself to death today or in one sitting, we all know that obesity sometimes leads to death, right? Many health complications. All right. Thanks for letting me share that. Just had to get that out of my brain. Now I'm ready to move on. And I do treasure you all and thank you for your support. I've had so much kindness sent to me. Okay, here we go. So we have to have this protection plan. And the thing about the protection plan is you can't just have it here. Because when you get in situations that are highly emotional, right? It's really difficult to maintain that plan if you can't think of it. And when we get highly emotional, or if our anxiety kicks in, or if our, if depression gets heavy, we're not going to think as clearly as we could otherwise. So it's really important that you carry your protection plan somewhere on your smartphone. And if you don't have a smartphone, then you do the old-fashioned thing and you write it on an index card and you put it in your purse or you put it in your wallet, because it's really, truly important that you have it where you can refer to it, because sometimes it's really super hard to think, oh yeah, what was I supposed to do? Oh my God, there's 4 steps. I think there's 4 things I'm supposed to do. What were they? Right? Okay. So let's review them and then we'll talk about how to implement them in real life situations on a day-to-day basis, okay? So again, I'm going to ask you, if you have some situations that come to mind that are struggles for you, such as the break room at work, or what a lot of big companies, for the life of me, I don't understand this. Okay, they give you a discount on your insurance for health, for being in good shape. They provide a gym, and then they take around this crap food cart, right? That's got all the crap on it. It doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, I've heard from a lot of people that can be a difficult situation when they bring that cart rolling around to the individual desks. So learning to say, please don't bring that food cart to me. Or if it's dinner at your family's house on the weekend, or whatever your difficult situations if you could type them in so that when I'm done reviewing the protection plan, we can review some. All right, so the first part of the protection plan is, of course, dang it, where'd that thing go? Is, of course, identifying why does it matter? Why do you why do you need a protection plan? Why do you care? Why do you want to stick to healthy eating? Why do you want to be healthier? If you've had weight loss surgery, why did you have weight loss surgery? If you're trying to lose weight, why? So your motive, your recovery motive. Obesity is a disease. We recover from diseases, right? We're in remission from chronic diseases. We're not ever recovered from them. So obesity in itself is a disease and we want to be in remission from it, meaning we're not having comorbidities that are caused by our weight. Addiction is also a chronic disease that gets worse over time, and that also goes into remission, but it doesn't go away. So why is it that it's important for you to be your healthiest self? It's really important that you write that down at the very top of your protection plan, so that if you get into that place where you're like all filled with stinking thinking, like the why bothers, oh, it doesn't matter anyway, or I've never done this before, why do I think, all the crap in our heads, then you can look at that reason and you can say, that's why. That's why I'm walking out of this break room and not grabbing a brownie. That's why I'm driving past McDonald's and not stopping. That's why. Because I want to live longer. Because I want to play with my children. Because I want to see my grandchildren get married. Whatever it is for you that matters. Right underneath your meaningful matter, you write these exact words. Who wants to write these while I'm saying it? Somebody please take the liberty of doing so. And these words are, if I blank. So it doesn't matter what the blank is. If I go to the drive-thru, if I eat the brownie, if I skip my workout, if I skip breakfast, if I drink the sweet tea, if blank, whatever that blank is, will it move me closer to or further from my meaningful matter? What's meaningful to me? My why. If I blank, will it move me closer to or further from what I say matters most to me? Now, that in and of itself may be enough to stop you in your tracks and make a healthy choice, right? Make the decision to walk out of that break room, make the decision to keep on driving, make the decision to, throw whatever you just took a bite of into the garbage. That may be enough, because that's a really powerful question. If I skip my workout, it's going to move me toward my goal of better health or further from better health. If I start on sugar, which usually leads to a bad place for me, will it move me closer to longevity, closer to avoiding high blood pressure, or further from? That sometimes can be enough, but that's the first part of the protection plan. All right, the next part is to identify triggers. And the reason you want to have your triggers listed ahead of time is because you want to try to avoid some of them if possible, especially if you're hungry, angry, lonely, tired. For example, I've used this one many times. If you're hungry, you don't go to the grocery store, right? The grocery store is a trigger for many people. And if you're hungry, angry, lonely, tired, you're not as, your resources are a little weakened, right? Your resolve can be not as strong. My daughter's calling me. So if you're hungry, angry, lonely, tired, protect yourself from triggers. Other triggers can be the smell of food. If you're going to go to a movie and you know you want to avoid that snack bar, but you're really ticked off, you might want to wait and go to a later show until you settle down. Because when you're angry, chances are you're deep into stinking thinking. You're all ticked off at whomever, and you're thinking about all the reasons they're ticking you off, and you're going down that place. And then you're going to say, well, you know what? I deserve this. And you're going to get into all that ridiculous rationalization. And then you're going to not pull out your plan, and you're just going to go for it. So identify your trigger. So if the smell of popcorn is a trigger for you, or the sight of that snack bar, or just the association between movies and junk food, that might be a trigger. And you might want to avoid it if you're not in a good place. Or people. Let's say that you're going to meet up with your friend that you always go for dessert with. And sometimes you're like, I can go, she can get her dessert, I'm just going to have a cup of coffee, and it's okay. But if you know you're not in a good place, you're hungry, you're angry, you're way tired, and you're like, if she says you want to buy it and you're going to give in, don't go. Or sometimes that's not possible, so you have to use things further down the list. All right, so know your triggers. Be super careful if you're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. Now, the next step is really important too, and this is something people aren't always so good at, and that is being able to identify your own feelings. Are you mad? Are you sad? Are you scared? Are you lonely? Are you vulnerable? Are you feeling misunderstood? Identify your feeling. Bunny, I see your question. I'm going to come back to it. All right. So be able to identify your feeling and say, this is my feeling. I'm angry. What do I need? I need some comfort. I need some reassurance. I need some whatever it is. So there's two parts to this. One is identifying your feeling, And the other is identifying your normal, healthy adult need. Here's part of the problem. We want to think we don't have the same needs as other people. I don't need to ask for help. I don't need reassurance. I don't need somebody to take care of me. Well, guess what? We're all human. We all have the same needs. These are all healthy adult needs. It's not like you're being a child. So you have to be able to identify your feeling, identify your need. And then the next part is to have a list of options. Last time we talked about this list of options, and I said, get online, do a Google search for healthy coping skills. So healthy coping skills are things like taking 10 deep breaths. I mean, if you're worked up about something, if you're hungry, or if you're angry, or if you're lonely, or if you're anxious, to take some deep breaths. Or if you're angry, sometimes a physical thing to get that anger is energy. You got to sometimes get that energy out. So you might want to just go in somewhere and stomp your feet like you're a kid, or you might want to, if you're able to, get outside and take a walk. Or, what they used to have us do in treatment facilities? You take a phone book. They don't have many of those anymore, but you can find something like a flyer that comes in the mail and rip it into 1,000 pieces. So identify options for dealing with the need in a healthy way. If you're looking for comfort, you might want to call a friend to have somebody comfort you. You might want to see if your neighbor can come over and have a cup of coffee. You might want to reach out to an elderly person and ask them how they're doing, because you're going to help them and yourself. All right, so you have to have options. And then you need to take action, which requires willingness and effort. All right, so let's look at some of these situations that people have posted. And I really appreciate that, you guys. All right, let me go back a little bit. All right. All right, some triggers. Okay, nighttime, being alone, watching TV. These are good. I'll address these all on nighttime resting. So a lot of these sounds like nighttime eating, having some downtime. And a lot of people actually report that they do pretty well during the day, but when nighttime comes, so you've got to have a plan, right? So if you start feeling, so first of all, we can all plan for that because it's a very common thing. So set yourself up for success. You got to set yourself up for success. So if you get bored watching TV, have some things that you can do. A lot of people talk about, knitting or crocheting. A lot of us don't have a clue of how to do that, nor do we have a desire. But a lot of people will do the coloring while they're watching TV, the adult coloring books. It's a great thing to do. Find something to entertain your hands or to keep your hands busy. File your nails. A lot of people look at Facebook while they're watching TV. A lot of people, if you still iron, for God's sake, not a lot of people do, that's a great time to iron when you're watching TV and you're alone and it's at night. If you're not a TV watcher and you don't want to watch TV, but you're just at home alone and you're lonely and that's usually your eat time, get online and get involved in some chatting. There are thousands of support groups here online, so get involved in one of those. Or create a pen pal, an old-fashioned pen pal. One of the things you can do is write a letter to somebody every night. You could journal about your day every night. You could have a list of 12 different things that you might be interested in doing and do a little bit of this and then do a little bit of that. But have a list. I think I may have shared with you that my grandson, who is 6, the rest of the kids are younger than that, and not that they're old, but sometimes he says, I'm bored. So one day I said to him, all right, here's the deal. Go and get a piece of paper and a pen. So he came back and I was doing something, I don't remember what, but I said, all right, sit down here and I want you to talk to me and make a list of things that you could do when you're bored. So he literally made a list of things he could do when he's bored, and he read it out loud to me. And we worked on a few more things, and I said, what about this? And he's like, no, I don't like doing that anymore. Okay, that's fine. What about this? Oh, that's a good idea. So now when he's over here, if he says he's bored, I said, you need to go get your list. So do that in an adult version. Get your list of things you can do with when you're bored or you're lonely. And if you're like, well, I don't feel like doing that, that's okay, because your list needs to have like 15 or 20 or 25 things on there, and maybe something will trip your trigger. So set yourself up for success. Then if none of that works, then go to the feeling. How am I feeling? I'm feeling lonely. What do I need? I need companionship. What are some options? Healthy options, because you could get a hookup, a sexual hookup, right? That's not a healthy option. Or you could, find yourself a bunch of food for comfort. That's not a healthy option. So healthy options for comfort might be a warm bath. It might be a warm blanket. It might be snuggling with a pet. It might be painting your toenails. It might be turning on the TV. It might be going outside and weeding your garden. It might be talking to your plants. It might be, looking in the mirror and say, you know what? I can sit here all night and be sad and lonely and start to feel sorry for myself, because that's likely where this is headed. Or I could do something for somebody else. Oh, I don't have a car. Oh, well, I could get online and do something for somebody else. And you might need to do this over and over and over again. That's why I suggest that people have a tip jar. And a tip jar is a list of possibilities. It's a list of options. So that when you feel like you're all out of ideas, then you go to that tip jar. And the deal you make with yourself is whatever I pull out, I'm going to do. So if you pull out something that says send a card, and you go find a card, and if you don't have one, you get a piece of paper and you write somebody a note. And then you're like, okay, that took 5 minutes. Now what I'm going to do? And you pull one out, and if it says clean the toilets, then you go clean the dang toilets. And do that over and over and over again, because hopefully you're not going to be in that state of mind every night. But you've got to have a list of healthy options. All right, I'm going to move on real quick. Let's see if I can. Thank you, Debbie Smith, for writing that thing. Okay, with food addiction, do you have to zero in on a certain food? Should I give up sugar and flour forever? Seems to me the root to all my evil eating is sugar and flour. I still have good restriction. I know I have to never drink alcohol. Mary, I'm really impressed. That is a great question. And here's how I want to address that. Because every human being is different. And everybody who has weight loss surgery and everybody who has, different food triggers is different. My personal and professional belief is that some people have a literal, almost like an allergy to sugar and flour. And for those people, and you may be one of them, any sugar or flour will trigger the craving for more of that. And when I say trigger a craving for more of that, I'm not necessarily talking about then binge eating, but I'm talking about it's kind of always on your mind then. It's just like food starts talking to you. You have those cravings. You're drawn toward those things. Whereas if you've had any period of time at all when you've been abstinent from sugar and white flour, those cravings seem to go away. Your thinking clears up a little bit. You're more able to get through difficult situations. If that's you, then I would work toward abstinence. Now, some people are able to quiet that itch, scratch that itch without going off the deep end. For example, if you can have 2 Hershey's Kisses and you're like, okay, done. I am done with the sugar. I had it, I'm good to go. Then do that. If half of a cookie or 1 cookie does the trick, then you're good. But if you eat a cookie and then all of a sudden you're wanting, it's like, God, I know I had some, some something else in the house, some popcorn or some cake or some, crackers or anything. If you start looking for food in the garbage can, doesn't have to be that extreme, but you know what I'm saying. If it just triggers it rather than quieting it, then you might want to abstain. But everybody's different. You have to know yourself well enough. And thank you for saying you can't drink alcohol. You're wise. Okay, nighttime snacking and non-work days. Okay. That is just so common with everybody that I would really encourage you all to start making a list and start making tip jars, because it's when you have downtime that you're struggling. And here's the deal. And here's why that happens. Because when we have downtime, we're with us. And a lot of us are working real hard to stay away from us, to stay away from our own thoughts, from our own feelings, from our own memories, from our own, our own ick in our lives. So if that's going on for you, part of the deal with addiction is recognizing that life is life. There will always be stress. There will always be memories if you've got bad memories. There will always be emotion in your life. You're alive, you're a human being, you are always going to have emotion. So learning to feel and experience emotion. And I know some of us think that's going to kill us, and I thought it was going to kill me. I only knew two emotions. I knew anger and I knew fake happy. So being alone with myself meant there was time for shame. There was time for guilt to sneak in. There was time for sadness. Dear God, I wanted to avoid sadness and loneliness at all costs, right? So I would get busy, or I would do whatever I did to numb myself, alcohol, a pain pill, any one of my number of addictive behaviors that I did. And so part of the deal is just to give yourself permission to sit for 5 minutes a day with no noise, no phone, no computer, no TV, no music, no nothing, no people. 5 minutes a day. And for some people, that can be really, really uncomfortable because we just are so uncomfortable. I've talked forever in prior videos, if you look on YouTube, about the core of all of this being learning to love ourselves, learning to treasure ourselves, learning to value ourselves. So taking some time to be with ourselves and talk kindly to ourselves, have compassion for ourselves, forgive ourselves, and say, I'm good enough, is a huge part of this. All right. I'm going to move on a little bit so I can cover a little bit more. How do I figure out exactly what my triggers are? Mine seem more like self-sabotage for no reason. Okay, good. The regain has caused depression. Okay, so you got a negative spiral going on here. You got this going on, and then that going on, and then depression going on, and that's just going to lead to eating worse and feeling worse, and it's just yucky, right? So here's how you start to identify your triggers. When you find yourself, you may have to start with when you've already eaten something that isn't on your healthy, plan. So if you find yourself having eaten whatever it is, then you walk backwards, all right? Many of you know that I was on The Family Feud, and Steve Harvey, the host, is so funny. And all through the taping of that day, in between cuts and whatever, he would just chat and entertain the audience. And one of the things he said, because he's got a lot of life wisdom, and he said, if you find yourself in a bad mood, stop and get in touch with what you were thinking about 10 minutes earlier, because now you know why you're in a bad mood. Because our thoughts so powerfully affect our emotions. So if you've eaten something, you need to work backwards. I ate this. What was happening before I ate this? How was I feeling before I ate this? And if you do this enough times and maybe have a friend who works through it with you, you'll go, you know what? I just got that phone call from my sister and she really ticked me off. And before you realized it, you were eating. So a lot of times you got to work backwards to find out what the trigger was that led to the eating. So now you can say, was it my sister or was it the emotion? Does my sister usually evoke that same emotion in me? Or what was it? So start by working backwards and you can learn to identify your triggers. All right, so then you can say, when my sister calls, I know that oftentimes I end up in the kitchen. So I'm going to stay out of the kitchen. You shouldn't have that crap in the kitchen anyway. I don't like the word should, but I did just use it. All right. I can redirect myself well, but it is so often, and your spouse being the trigger, that's real tough. That is super duper tough. I would suggest that you find a lot of things to do in your life to fill your life, to make your life full. I know some things about your circumstances, so what I'm saying isn't going to specifically apply, isn't generally going to apply to people. But Bunny, you're home a lot, he's home a lot. So, and a lot of times people are married to people who are an active addict, or they're married to somebody who's a workaholic, or they're married to somebody who's, on the TV all the time or whatever. So you don't have to give up your life. You don't. You have to make a choice. What do I want my life to look at? So fill your life with good things. Fill your life. Get out of that house. Go meet people. Go take free classes. Go join walking groups. Go, get out of that house. And then when you're home, figure out how much time you need to have face-to-face or chair-to-chair interaction and protect yourself. Protect yourself. Let's see what else we got. I'm glad, Jenny Bean, that this was good timing for you. All right, I can have a plan and alternatives and follow that plan or whatever, but it's due to an emotional thing. I'll go eat my celery and hummus. Then I'll eat a carrot. Then I'll say screw it and find something bad for me. That's only when it's something emotional. Okay, so this is a perfect example, Chrissy, because you're identifying this is an emotional response for me. Eating is an emotional response for me. So if this happens often, and I do not know your circumstances, so I do not know if it's possible for you to have most of the crap out of your house. If it is, protect yourself by not having the crap in your house. Remember, I've likened this over the weeks to setting boundaries for children. We set boundaries for young children to keep them safe and to protect them. We need to treat ourselves like a healthy parent and set ourselves up with healthy boundaries to protect ourselves when it comes to unhealthy food and unhealthy eating. So one of the ways to do that is to not have crap in your surroundings, if at all possible. I know that it's not always possible, but do the best that you can, all right? And when you're finding yourself eating the hummus and the crackers and then or the carrots and the celery, if you know that's your pattern, as soon as you're in that fridge eating the hummus and the crackers, that's when you go carrots. That's when you go call somebody. That's when you pull out that protection plan. Go, here I go. This is the first part of my negative spiral. So I'm going to intervene. I'm going to intervene so that I can protect myself. You guys can put a taped copy of your protection plan in your refrigerator. Hello. Be creative. I always end this thing by saying your health is your responsibility this day and every day. People gave me tips. People gave me suggestions. People gave me insights. People shared with me what worked for them. They didn't do it for me. To this day, to include this day, I have had to put effort into protecting myself from emotional triggers, and it's hard. When I go home to my hometown, it is honestly probably the most difficult situation for me, not because I want to drink or use drugs or what I'm there, but because it's really emotionally difficult for me. Memories and people and sights, and there's so many triggers that evoke painful memories for me, painful emotions, unpleasant feelings. So being there is really, really difficult for me. So I have to have a protection plan in place. So here are some of the things I did to protect myself on this particular trip, knowing it was going to be even more emotional than a lot of them because we're dealing with a death. So I got a place to stay that was not in that town because just being in that town really makes me feel kind of sick. So I got a place to stay that was out of town, which meant I had some physical distance from that town itself. I love the Midwest. I find it absolutely stunningly beautiful in the summertime. So I got a place that was out in the country and was surrounded by the woods because that's where I am the most peaceful. That's where I am serene. So I protected myself environmentally. I protected myself by not allowing any of my family members who came to bring alcohol there. They gathered at another place and they were drinking, and I went there for a short period of time. So I protected myself in that way by having a vehicle in which I could remove myself. So part of the deal is if you're going somewhere and you know it's a trigger for you, set yourself up to begin with. I had contacted some of my good friends before I went and said, listen, this is where I'm going. This is what's going on. So many of them reached out to me and said, how's it going? Just checking on you. And I would reach out to them. So set yourself up for success. Now, another thing that you mentioned, Chrissy, is the stinking thinking. When you start going, forget it. That is stinking thinking. And that is a dangerous place to be because you don't go down a slippery slope, you fall off the edge, right? So you need, I hate saying that. So it might benefit you to watch some of these earlier videos when we talk about stinking thinking, because stinking thinking is just negative self-talk. And negative self-talk is what self-sabotage is about. So we sabotage ourselves. Self-sabotage is usually linked to deeper issues. So if you're self-sabotaging, you might want to dig a little deeper. Okay, let's see. We're running late, so you guys can always go to the beginning of this and rewatch, and you know that there's a lot of prior episodes on YouTube. Just type in Connie Stapleton. Yes, having a list of coping skills does work. All right, let's see. For those that are lonely or need companionship, check the app Be My Eyes. What a great suggestion. Thank you. Request help through the app. That's awesome. Good suggestion here, you guys. Okay, does sugar and flour trigger alcohol cravings if you're an alcoholic? Yes, indeed. I went to treatment 29 years ago for alcohol, and they said be careful of sugar and flour. It was 29 years ago. So there's a definite scientific researched connection there. All right, guys. Okay, we're going to stop for tonight. Can I do a session on self-sabotage? Terry, yes, I will do that next week. That will be the topic for next week. So next week's Food Addiction, Fear, and Fun will be on self-sabotage because we're all guilty of that at times, right? All right, in the meantime, let me thank you for taking your time, for taking your evening, for putting forth the effort to be here. Hi, Jackie. And if you need to start this from the beginning, it'll be on the page. Please share it with your friends. And if you would, go to my Connie Stapleton PhD page and click like on there, because I'm going to start doing these from that site in the future. All right, you guys, share the crap out of this, okay? Because we really want to get this word out. We're not the only ones suffering, and we need help getting through this, and we need it together. And you're very welcome. you know that you help me by allowing me to say these things out loud. So as always, it's your health, your responsibility. This day and every day. I'll see you online tomorrow, I'm sure, and next week live. Good night.